But let's begin with the biggest story of the day, which really is about the attempt to strip judges of their contempt power. We spoke about this last night on the Five Stack as well. House
Yep.
Republicans have passed a sweeping policy bill that would restrict federal judges' ability to hold officials in contempt, especially if the judge didn't require a bond from those plaintiffs seeking injunctions. So the timing is crucial because several Trump officials are currently facing potential contempt proceedings because they've been defying those deportation orders. And so this represents a fundamental attack on the separation of powers. I mean, clearly, this is what's going on. They're trying to get their officials off the hook here, so they don't have to follow the rules.
Absolutely. And we talked about it yesterday on your five stack, and frankly, I think this needs to be mentioned every day until the Senate strips this out because we still have a chance to stop this and a few other amendments that they're trying to shove through. And this is extremely dangerous because we just had a case where, this regime disappeared people to South Sudan. Okay, this is a do not travel for Americans place with a civil war on the verge. Um, and the judge ordered that that plane be stopped, and he said he was going to hold everyone from the pilot on up to the top officials in contempt for if they don't follow these orders. And here you have Republicans basically, again, attacking the Constitution. We already see that Republicans have turned Congress into basically a rubber stamp for Trump, and they're attacking the Constitution and, the key things that kept this country a democracy, which is the separation of powers, which is accountability. And here we have another example of this. And I mean, this is extremely dangerous. And just to again mention, and I will keep, mentioning this until the bill is in the Senate and we could strip it out. The same, this nightmare bill of make Americans more poor. Um, also includes an amendment to target any nonprofit as a terrorist organization. And, we see where this regime has gone with going after Harvard and, stripping, they're attempting to strip the nonprofit tax status from Harvard. And can you imagine this will be turned to all opposition? I mean, this is going to be, against Indivisible, against Act Blue, against disability organizations, civil rights organizations, you name it. This is a pure attack on civil society. So
It
those
really
are the
is.
two main things we really need to, keep
The
hammering home.
this attack on the judiciary, just to get back to that for 1 second here, really is against the main principle of America, which is no man is really above the law. And here we have a president and his administration, which is clearly breaking the law. That's why they're in contempt of these courts, and that's why these judges have issued these orders. I mean, they're not just doing it for fun. They're doing it because the
No.
law was broken. People were taken away from their homes, taken away from their families, deported illegally to gulags, basically, in foreign countries, and without any due process. This is the reason that we have these contempt orders. And so to sneak in a provision inside this massive bill without a really important conversation around whether this is a good idea, which is clearly not, is just sneaky. It shows you the disregard he has for Congress. The disregard he has for the judiciary system. And what he's basically doing is just giving himself free reign to do whatever he wants. So if there is a hearing or a judge ruling against him, it'll just be an advisory thing. It'll just be advice. He doesn't have to take it. There's no, stick that comes along with that for the courts to use. It's just unbelievable. I mean, this is, we talk about authoritarianism. We've discussed it a million times. We keep saying he's testing the limits of his power. But this is clearly a constitutional crisis. I mean, this is now,
It
we've reached
goes,
there.
and it's beyond Trump. I mean,
Mm,
the Republican Party is fully responsible for this, and
mm,
they've literally become the United Russia Party, which is Putin's party. Basically doing everything that Trump says. I mean, they're the ones who are sneaking this, and like yesterday on your five stack, you pointed out in the middle of the night while Americans are
mhm.
sleeping. Not only do they want to remove health insurance and food assistance and all the social safety net programs, but at the same time, they're putting these unconstitutional amendments in to basically finish off, any remnants of a democracy we still have. So,
I know, and it's hard to believe that a majority of the House still voted for this. I mean, it's shocking. I mean, how much corruption must exist in those ranks to have these members pass a bill which is so unhealthy for the American economy, unhealthy for the American people, and clearly unhealthy for rule of law. So it's really shocking. We'll keep an eye out on that
oh,
one, and
Congress,
yeah,
full
and also
Senate.
call Congress, call the Senate, and especially on this nonprofit a piece of it too. I mean, there is these things are going to work. The more we call, the more we protest, the more we ask, demand that these things are turned back, the more it's likely to happen. Turning to the second story, which you've already mentioned, but it's worth getting back to, is the story around Harvard, where you've got the Trump administration has revoked Harvard's ability to enroll international students. This is the best institution we have for learning in America. We don't take international students, citing alleged anti Semitism and ties to the Chinese Communist Party. This is Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's initiative. She ordered the move, affecting nearly 7,000 students and demanding Harvard hand over protest records within 72 hours. This represents, really government control over a private education institution, one of the most highly regarded ones in America.
Yep, and every day there's a news story on Harvard. This one broke yesterday. Luckily, which will be in my tracker tonight, the judge has put a pause on this because it is unconstitutional and illegal. But yes, we see Harvard being, used. It was Columbia and Harvard being used as the test case for taking control of colleges and universities in America. So Trump can enforce, and the white supremacists can enforce their extremist agenda through universities. They don't want people to actually be educated and have free thought and we also, I mean, Trump, frankly, for the most part, does better with the uneducated college men and women. And this, we continue to see, I mean, every day there's a new story on Harvard. And the most troubling part about this, besides everything, is the fact that they are using our agencies that we pay taxes for to target universities, to target people, to target opposition parties. And I mean, imagine the government, what kind of federal overreach this is that the government is blatantly telling a university you're not allowed to hire enroll international students. I mean, it's frankly, it's dangerous. And like I said, Harvard is just a test case. Columbia, more or less, succumbed to Trump, whereas Harvard has been pushing back. And as they push back, you see every day they're weaponizing the IRS or DHS or, HHS or whatever agency. Every day there's a new story on Harvard.
It's really interesting that the GOP and the Trump administration have sought out Harvard. It's been going on for a while. It went on during the Biden administration when the Congress was controlled by the Republicans. When they had those anti-Semitic conferences where they had all these administrators from these colleges. They singled out Harvard there. It makes me feel like there's something more about Harvard in the background that is really triggering this. That it's just it's sort of a revenge tour classic
Maybe
by. What are you
maybe
thinking?
Trump got rejected from Harvard, and this
Maybe.
is his
Or,
retribution for
you know,
not accepting him.
I mean, sure, Harvard was controlled by a different kind of body before, different chancellor, different kind of groups of people. They were more aligned with other foreign countries maybe than than the current independent ones. I mean, it could be that there's something much deeper going on here because this, why would you not let students from around the world who are paying you a ridiculous amount of money, by the way, to get there, to get to Harvard without with if, as a foreign student, you have to pay so much money. Um, you know, if they're willing to do it, why would you turn them away? Why would you turn all these elite people from around the world away when you claim to be that's what you want to be? You want all these elite people to come here. Shocking, really. The third story is today is about the crypto dinner. Yesterday, I guess it was yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah. Trump
Maybe,
had
maybe someone said Barron Trump rejected. Maybe one
maybe
of the
it could be
children.
Barron. He might be the future guy. Who knows? So um, Trump had his big exclusive stable coin, Trump meme coin dinner last night in his golf course. And um, the members who were invited to this dinner, these are people who had crypto assets that were named after alt-right symbols like Pepe the Frog, as well as tokens using swastikas, racial slurs, and anti-Semitic language, according to Crew. The May 22nd event at Trump's Virginia golf course offered top crypto holders a dinner, a White House tour, and a private reception with the president. Unbelievable. Such corruption. Essentially rewarding holders of these hate-themed digital assets with presidential access. It's so strange to me. On the one hand, you've got this their supposed fight for anti-Semitism, and on the other hand, they've got all these anti-Semites gathering around with their crypto coins. What's going on?
So this is exactly, and look, anti-Semitism is definitely a huge problem in this
For
country, and this
sure.
is something that universities and frankly everyone needs to address. But at the same time, they're using anti-Semitism, as cover to basically take control of universities and quash any future student movements against this regime. And here you have, them on one hand peddling how they're so concerned about, anti-Semitism that they have to target these universities and strip them of funds. And we see everything that is happening with these universities. And then on the other hand, besides the fact that many Trump officials are linked to Nazis, have spread anti-Semitic garbage online, now you have foreigners who I'm not even going to name. I will put the link into this and it's on the tracker to the investigation. But the names were, that were used for these, for the people who bought these coins. I mean, they were completely anti Semitic and racist. And I mean, it was the worst of the worst. It looked like, you remember that platform, Gab, or
Mm.
Gab?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, the Nazi platform. I mean, this literally look like names that came out of there. This is so you have these foreigners because we still don't know who attended Trump's dinner.
Mm.
We don't know who bought him, and who bought parts of U.S. Foreign policy, and they're using this, and I'm sure today he'll make another comment about Harvard and how he's a protector of the Jews. Meanwhile, here he had a room filled with people who are completely anti-Semitic and racist because you don't pick that kind of name to purchase a coin.
So why didn't he go after the people who were at his event? If he's willing to send ICE people to courtrooms to pull immigrants out, why can't Kristi Noem send her officials um, to this event to weed out all these Nazis that they're so concerned about anti-Semitism? He's the president of the United States having dinner that is being paid for and his access is being paid for by foreign people. We don't know who they are. It's top secret.
Oh,
They are funding him somehow in these backroom deals through cryptocurrency. So we don't know how much money is being spent on him. He's having dinner with anti-Semitic people who are holders of these right-wing meme coins. This is ridiculous. I mean, this is not even this can't even be considered business. It's just not the way things are done ever anywhere. This is
and
unbelievable.
they made purchased Trump through foreign exchanges that Americans are not allowed to use. because, of the fraud and everything else that goes with it. So,
And
I
you know
mean,
where this
really,
money is
this
coming from. It's coming from the dirtiest places you could possibly imagine money coming from,
absolutely,
right? It's coming from all
absolutely.
the worst mobs in the world, all the criminal organizations in the world. That's where the money's coming from because, they want the face time with Trump and the legitimacy that he's granting them by having dinner with them. This is such and the
Trust
worst, yeah. And then at the same time, he's busy bankrupting Americans and taking away their Medicaid and Medicare and making people poorer. It's just the
It's reprehensible, and trust me, immigrants are a target of Trump, and we see him using the weight of the government to go after them, to demonize them, to use the language Hitler used, against
yeah.
immigrants. Whereas if they were able to buy meme coins to him, his meme coin, and spend millions of dollars, trust me, his tune would change. So it just shows you he is a transactional person. He doesn't care if he deals with Nazis or if who he deals with, who the group is. Now he really has turned the whole mega movement, who before used to be anti-Islamic and anti-Arabic. Now they're all praising what a genius he is that he was running around with the Saudis and in Qatar and UAE and and whatnot. So I mean, whoever can buy him, they will buy him, and our agencies are not going to go after those people.
Yeah.
They will go after the people who are actually exposing this.
Not in this term, they won't. But once the tables
No.
turn, I mean, there will be investigations into this, and there need to be criminal investigations into this. The question I have for you, and this will be a gut instinct because I don't believe you know Trump personally, but is he a racist? I mean, it feels to me like he is a racist. He feels to me like
Oh,
that's genuine. That's a true belief of his. That's not something he's just being transactional about. That's something
no.
that's
He
true.
is a racist, although he's a racist again in the most hypocritical way, because I mean, from New York, he, hung out with Italian mafia, Russian mafia, and I mean, they're racist people. But at the same time, he used, in several of his properties, he was using undocumented immigrants for his properties, and we have, I actually, in last night's tracker, we had a story last week with Kid Rock,
Mm.
whose restaurants, warned their undocumented staff to go home because there were ICE raids in the vicinity. Kid Rock now is trying to distance himself from his restaurants. He doesn't know nothing about it. He doesn't know
Oh, really?
nothing about, yeah, about the undocumented workers who are working there.
How
And it
convenient.
just, yeah, of course, and it just goes to show you. I mean, one, this is a winning issue because Trump is tapping on, I don't even know. It's just a vile, issue of tapping and throwing meat to his base.
It is. It
But
is
at the
for
same
sure.
time, you see the same people who are deport all the immigrants are the ones who are accept the ones who are working for me. So you just see the pure hypocrisy of it.
And there's more proof tonight as well about the ability of these typical trade organizations or all these other uh, agencies that we pay for, as you point out, in terms of targeting these officials, because the FTC is now investigating Media Matters over
Hmm.
their alleged coordination with advertisers to harm Elon Musk's X platform. This is unbelievable. The probe follows Musk's lawsuit accusing the liberal watchdog of orchestrating a boycott against X. This represents a dangerous precedent. Federal agencies investigating journalists and journalism organizations because of a billionaire that's upset that his platform was targeted for a boycott. I mean, clearly he realizes it's maybe because of things that he did and said on that platform and not just people organizing a boycott. But the FTC is not going after him. They're going after Media Matters, which organized the boycott.
The strength of America is through these movements. And I mean, boycotts are as old as anything. And, national strikes and protests. And the fact that now, you have a billionaire. I mean, frankly, one day we are so involved in this day to day, minute to minute breaking news and insanity. But when you pull back, I mean, you have a billionaire who bought himself a White House seat. Put 200, what, $80 million
Yeah.
to get Trump elected. We don't know what he did with Starlink, and certain things, but there was activity reported, and hopefully one day there will be an investigation in why Starlink was used in certain, swing states on top of everything else that happened. And he buys himself this White House seat, comes in, steals all our data, fuses our data, and as we've discussed before, is most likely creating a centralized system to track all of us and to,
Mhm. Is for
to
sure. That's
target
exactly what he's
list.
building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to create target list, taking all the contracts, having agencies open investigations against other companies that have contracts, in order to get them out so he can take over the contract, his companies,
Mhm.
getting information on top of stealing data on all of us. Don't forget, he's getting, data from, on all the companies and his competitors, which, I mean, this, frankly, anyone would be in jail for this 10 times over. And then on top of it, now he is using a federal agency to target watchdog who
Mhm.
called for boycotts. I mean, so what? Now we're not allowed to call for boycotts in America? Is this where we're heading? You know, I
I just
mean,
don't get
yes, we
why
are.
the of all the agencies to be weaponizing and the FTC against Media Matters makes no sense to me. Why they're being this investigation is even happening is beyond me. And for sure, he's using his powers as he's done throughout his entire time lying to this administration to line his own pockets. He's every investigation by every agency that was opened against Elon Musk company of any form, whether it's SpaceX or whether it's Tesla or whether it's Starlink or X, every single one of those investigations has been shut down, not by just shutting down the investigation, but by axing the entire department
Yep.
or axing the people involved in that department. So, it's clearly, for someone who says he's stepping away from politics, who's not even meant to be a part of the
Oh,
government
stop it.
anymore. Yeah. I mean, he's clearly still
No.
there. I mean, just yesterday, I think
Yeah.
they announced that they were going to do Starlink in South Africa after that meeting they had yesterday, 2 days ago. So, they're clearly he's still, pulling the strings in the administration 100%. He's not left, and he shouldn't be there.
His stepping away from government, my example is if you take an SVR agent, which is Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service,
Mhm.
he puts his spies in US, gets them acclimated, gives them their tours. Just because he's out of the pictures doesn't mean the spies are out of the
No.
pictures. They have been given their assignment and will continue to carry on. And with him, all his operatives are embedded in every single agency. So just
Mhm.
because he publicly decided to lie to us and try to save his Tesla stock and brand, and say, oh yeah, I'm no longer involved in politics, bullshit. All his people are embedded in every single agency with access to all our data, and I mean, it's the same as him being there. And as far as why media matters, I mean, he's thin-skinned. Just like I laugh with Putin and Russia because I constantly monitor Russian news, and here and there, like these obscure things, companies or people go under investigation, and I wonder what they did. Like, who did they piss off? Because there are certain things that just are a trigger point for the Kremlin. So here, clearly, Media Matters did something beside more than calling for the boycott, because a lot of people called for the boycott, including myself, in 22 when his platform started nosediving. Um, Clearly they did something to get under his skin. And as with these people, the more power they project, the more cowardly they are and the more thin-skinned they are. So here we are. And this is now adding to, a very growing list that soon will be able to occupy every wall in my house of the people under investigation
Hmm.
by Trump and his officials.
I've been at the brunt of some of that group's sort of attacks over the years, and you never know really why things are coming at you, but they come from out of left field, and you assume that they're coming for that particular reason, but you never really can know for sure. But clearly, in this case, Media Matters is should not be investigated by any government agency. It's just nonsensical. Musk has also been involved in South Africa as we and in this meeting with Ramaphosa that came. He wasn't supposed to be there because he's not allowed to be in working for the government right now. He's literally not allowed to be getting a paycheck right now, and yet somehow he landed up at the White House on maybe it was unofficial business, but he was there during this Oval Office meeting between South African President Cyril Ramaphosa and Donald Trump. And during that meeting, Trump held up a printout featuring an image he claimed showed white farmers being buried in South Africa. You remember? I don't know if you saw that, but the
Mm.
photo was actually a screenshot from a verified Reuters video that came out of the Democratic Republic of Congo during an M23, which is a rebel movement there, attack on the city of Goma. So, not South Africa at all. The president of the United States making accusations in front of the president of South Africa about a massacre that doesn't even happen in that country. And complete lie, complete disinformation, complete bullshit, just in front of the world media.
I am laughing and I shouldn't be laughing because I mean, frankly, wherever the photo came from, it's horrific, that
Yeah.
there is a massacre. But here you have Trump lying, and the reason I'm laughing is just I'm thinking of Russia and how many times they put out videos claiming something happened, and they really invented it. Didn't happen the way they said, or in the place they said, or use videos from another country to say this happened in a part of Russia in order, to justify whatever their agenda, crackdowns or whatever their agenda is. And here you have Trump literally sitting. I mean, this is embarrassing. This is the most powerful seat, or was, I should start using past tense, in the world, and you have the president of the United States sitting there showing a video, of this mass graves, which the person who actually created the video came out and said, this is no, 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 this is not what this is. Um, and then showing a photograph, and it's not even the right country. I
Hmm.
mean, frankly, with him, he would know the difference between Congo and South Africa, but it's not even the right country. And I mean, he is putting out these conspiracies, and this is where it gets dangerous because our foreign policy is driven on conspiracies, corruption and conspiracies.
Hmm.
And this is a very dangerous mix because this is exactly how Russia operates.
It's also really interesting because he also showed, by the way, there was a protest in South Africa of people protesting against the death of a couple of white farmers, and there was all these white crosses along a road.
Yeah,
Those were not burial sites. He called it a burial site. It was just a protest. It was a
a mass
political protest.
grave,
Yeah, it was called it a
a
mass
mass
grave. It's
grave, even
not.
more.
It's obviously, and it's so this was either he's so stupid and he's getting fed completely erroneous information by his advisors, which is horrific. On the one hand, people should be fired. This is embarrassing. This is not how we conduct business. This ruins the reputation of the United States. Or he's deliberately presenting these lies to the world in order to gaslight or at least to appeal to his racist base. And I don't know which is worse, to be honest. Like, I don't know the fact that the administration is so inept that it can't even get itself together to give him the right information, or that his whole thing is really about mobilizing white nationalism, that's his key motivation in spreading all these lies, complete disregard for South Africa or apartheid or any of the stuff that happened in the past, just only concerned about igniting his base. I
I
mean,
would dare press pool reporters to ask him about apartheid in South Africa because I will promise you that he will know nothing. And as far as the conspiracies, I mean, they're being fed by Elon Musk. But this is a bigger thing. What we're seeing here, the attacks on DEI, the elevating investigations into a Chicago mayor, for hiring black officials, the investigations into colleges and universities for enrolling X amount of, black students. Um,
The
this
crypto
is
coin
a
thing we
part
just
of,
spoke about before. I mean,
yeah,
there's a racist
this
thing.
this is part of a bigger thing to elevate this Nazi white supremacist, white dominated male movement across the globe. This is
Yeah.
basically what it is, and he's throwing it to his base. And, and with him, he doesn't care. He's shameless. He has absolutely no problem spewing lies. He lies, like we, have breath,
Mhm. Yeah.
air to breathe. This is how he lies. And it's like I said, extremely dangerous because if he was, just some person running around lying, that's one thing. But our foreign policy is being designed on based on lies. Lies, he knows these are lies. And plus, he doesn't, frankly, give a crap about South Africa or the white African farmers. He doesn't care about
But
them.
he's building a
But
party. He's building a movement along the lines of South Africa. I
yeah,
mean, he's building this is, we see it in Nazi Germany. We see it in South Africa. These white Christian nationalist movements are very dangerous,
yes,
and they're not something
yes,
that you can just play with and then hope to discard.
no,
They have a sort of a a horrific prophecy that comes with them. I mean, in each case, they land up being genocidal, and so we can't have it's obvious now what is going on. I mean, every single day he's pounding on some sort of racist beat or some
yes.
sort of, and so we're in the middle of building this process now of this Nazi-like America, and we have to stop him. We have to stop him. There's really no other way to
And
do it.
KKK, his father
Yeah,
was a KKK protest in Queens back in the day. So, what is it? That saying the apple doesn't
it's far,
drop
far
too
from the
far from
tree.
the,
It's true in
yeah.
this case. Um, I think that's all the stories we have for you today on the tracker. Is there anything else you wanted to add, or is there any more?
Well, if we want to talk about Musk, I'll just add one more thing since tomorrow's the weekend, we don't have a tracker. Musk accompanied Trump on, that trip to the Middle East, and which will be in tonight's tracker. Musk and his brother and his father, they're all cashing in. His father's looking for a real estate deal with the Saudis. Musk and his brother secured deals for Starlink, for Neuralink, I believe is the company. And so, literally the Middle East trip on top of, a bribe of a $400 million plane and, all the other bribes that that they offered to Trump for to have favorable foreign policy towards the Saudis and Qataris, and weapon shipments. You can add Elon Musk to this list, who was there
The
securing
grifting,
his own
the grifting. It's so
deals,
wrong.
and the family, Kimball and his father. So there you go.
Of
It's a
course, you can't
family
have the grifting
family
without
grift.
nepotism. You got to have both. That's how it works.
Yeah,
It's all for the family. And that's what Trump's doing with his kids too. And we mentioned the other day, Don Trump Jr. is ready for a run in 2028. So just to make life
yeah,
even more crazy, you'll be back at 3 o'clock.
yeah.
We'll be back at doing this in three. Well, doing a different show. We're doing the five stack at 3 o'clock. The five biggest stories of the day. There's lots happening with news about the iPhone tariff and a whole lot more. So we'll see you in under 25 minutes, 26 minutes. Hopefully, everyone here can join us
Yes.
at narrative.org and arativ.org. Or you can watch us on the Trump Tyranny Tracker as well. And everyone should subscribe to Olga's Substack. And we shall see you in a few
And
minutes.
yours.
And mine. We'll
All
see you in a
right.
few minutes. Bye, everyone.
Bye.